Welcome everybody to Webinar 777, Life-Changing Webinars to Change Lives and Disciple Nations. Today's webinar is titled The Story Behind the Story, Ken McArthur and the Impact Manifesto. I'm thrilled, I'm honored to have as our guest expert today Ken McArthur. John Lemme, an international motivational speaker, says Ken McArthur is the #1 internet genius out there today, bar none. His expertise in joint ventures and mastering the internet is absolutely by far second to none. It's been said, when the student is ready, the master appears. My question for each of you is, are you ready? Are you ready to be noticed in a noisy world? If so, you've come to the right place. Ken McArthur is the author of Impact, How to Get Noticed, Motivate Millions, and Make a Difference in a Noisy World. I'm Dr. Joseph Peck, and I'm passionate about helping people like Ken McArthur share their stories with the world via webinars, because stories are life-changing, and I believe webinars are the #1 online marketing, teaching, and connecting tool, bar none. According to Mark Joyner, a best-selling author and founder of Simpleology, Ken is one of the most low-key geniuses he's ever met. And Mark Joyner says that he has never met anyone with such a big brain and had such a big heart. Now, I just got connected to Mark Joyner and Simpleology in the past few weeks, and that's having a profound impact on me. I think Mark Joyner has about 1 million subscribers to his Simpleology. That's about simplifying your complicated life. So coming from someone like Mark Joyner, that means a lot. And according to Jack Sufelt, a mentor to millions and author of the #1 bestseller, The DNA of Success, say Ken McArthur is brilliant is an understatement. He is an amazing businessman who knows how to make things happen. He also has a commodity that is all too rare in the business world. He is a good man with a heart of gold. So welcome, Ken, and thank you for agreeing to share your story and opportunity with my audience in the world today.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a real honor and a privilege. All of that glowing accolade stuff from some friends for many years really is humbling. We all make a difference whether we want to or not. But it's really an honor to be here with you and to be able to share my simple story. And I think that you'll find that it's not like, unlike many other people's stories, the ways that you impact people's lives every single day.
Absolutely. Well, my one pastor friend said, "Don't worship the pastor."
Exactly right.
That we're all human beings and we all have our challenges and our glowing moments. So, well, it's been said that once the mind of man is expanded to the dimensions of new thought, it never retracts to its original size or shape. And today your mind is going to be expanded a lot, and you will never be the same. Even if you want to, you're not going to be able to forget what Ken teaches you today. And it's also been said that if you want to be a master at anything, study what the masters have done before you, learn to do what they have done, have the courage to do it, and you can be a master just like them. So I don't think we can be quite like Ken, but we can strive for that, Ken. And we can certainly learn from you.
Well, I'm quite certain that nobody wants to be exactly like me, and we're all totally unique. But there is so much that we can learn from listening to other people's stories, just like you pointed out at the beginning of this webcast. There are so many things in life. I love books. My wife would, she cringes every time I mention a book. She thinks I have plenty of books. And one of the types of books that I like are biographies, because we can learn so much from seeing what other people have gone through in their lives, the challenges that they've come across and met. And if you talk to any human being on earth, you can find a compelling story that you can learn so much from. And I don't care who that person is, whether it's somebody, off the street who you would think would have nothing to contribute, or it's somebody who, talks on the stage to millions of people. Every single one of us has a simple story of truth because we've lived it every single day. We live our lives in a way that allows us to be real people, and only we, in most cases, know those stories, those impacts that we've made, and what mistakes we've made along the way too, that cause each of our stories to be unique. And the fact that they're unique and the fact that they're shared with the community of people and life, all under God's creation, is something that we can all benefit from, because we can do so much more when we work together than we can apart.
Well, I'm so glad you shared that about stories, because about a year or a little more than that ago, I got put on my heart to begin a series called The Story Behind the Story, letting people just share their life stories. And I just envisioned it being like Chicken Soup of the Soul series on steroids. Because in Chicken Soup for the Soul, people share a little snippet of their life. But in the webinars, people can share more of their story, their whole life story, and why they do what they do, and why they're passionate about what they're doing. And even if they have no product, no service, nothing that they feel that they can offer, as you mentioned, sharing their stories of overcoming helps other people overcome in similar situations.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, tell me what part of my story would you like to go? Because I'm sure that we could talk for about 100 hours about my story. So where would you like me to go back to?
Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and have you. Let's go ahead and have you start, here with what it was like for you growing up, because where we grow up and the type of family we grow up makes a big difference.
Well, I grew up as a PK. Some of you may know what that is. That's a preacher's kid. So I had an interesting life. I was actually born in the wilds of Memphis, Tennessee. I actually never lived there. It was the nearest hospital. My father serviced about 3 small pastorates in northern Mississippi, and that was the closest hospital when it came time for my mother to give birth. So we went up to the city of Elvis and had me, and I lived a little bit in Mississippi, and then my father went down to organizing churches in the early boom times of Florida. So he was a pastor down there forming new churches as kind of the first gold rush to go down to Florida was happening. And he founded a number of churches down there. And then eventually what he did was he moved out to the Four Corners area of Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. And he traveled 200 miles every single Sunday, preached about 3 different times up in the oil fields, in the mountains, and the mining areas, among the bean farmers on the plains of the western slope of Colorado. And so that was kind of the beginnings of my schooling and life. I was there through my freshman year in high school, and then we moved to a small church into Delta, Colorado, which is a small town on the western slope. So we were at a small church there. And then at the age, I don't know, in his 50s, I guess it was, my father actually found his calling in life. And you'd think, we think that we wake up and we figure out what we want to do on day one, but the truth of the matter is that we're in a constant discovery of what God has planned for us and for our life, because every day is a new adventure. And at that time and that point in his life, my father was called to go back to Florida, but this time to work with a church retirement center, and he spent the remainder of his career helping people to learn about the end of their life and adjusting to the many changes that come at the end of your life. So I was very fortunate. I grew up in a loving family. I grew up in a situation where education was highly valued, and I grew up in a family that was loved. So where I was loved. So I think about people, and I think of all of the challenges that they have to go through. And sure, there were challenges along the way. There were things that I thought were horrendous challenges. I'm sure, when I moved from one town to the next, and had to make new friendships, or I was athletically challenged, let's say. So I had lots of challenges as I was growing up, but compared with what most people have in their lives, I was a lucky person. I can't think of anything more powerful than being brought up in a family that has the kind of values and the kind of love that my family had when I was first growing up. So that was a big part of my growing and forming, was the fact that I had people that told me that that the possibilities were limitless, and that if you went out there and you took action and you finished things and you accomplished tasks, and you kept going and you were persistent and you cared about others and thought about other people first, that you could accomplish anything. And I think having that was a huge bedrock to build on as I grew older.
Well, what comes to my mind is what's written, that to those who have been given much, much is required. And so you started your life off as an American. You didn't choose that, but that's a blessing.
Yeah.
And you grew up in a loving family where you're saying your father was serving other people, and he didn't care if he had to travel 200 miles every Sunday. He was going to do what the Lord had called him to do. And that clearly is showing up in the testimonies of other people. They can see that you stand out somehow in your servant leadership.
Well, I think that that we're all blessed in many different ways. There is not a person on earth. There must be one somewhere that has the worst possible case, I guess, if you compared every single person on earth. But there are so many people that have so many more challenges than most of us. We sit in our houses. Most of us are sitting in a free country right now, in a time where we don't have to worry that armed troops are going to come in tomorrow, or we don't have to worry that we won't have enough food on the table tomorrow. That I know I eat way too much, so for my own health. So we're all fortunate and we're lucky, and that does require that we have significant, in my mind at least, that if we are given so much, that we have an opportunity, if not a responsibility, to have a huge impact on people. And the lucky thing about that is that all of us can have an impact, and in fact we do, whether we want to or not. It's one of the things that I discovered early on, was that it really doesn't matter whether you want to have an impact or not. You're going to have one anyway, because we all touch hundreds, if not thousands, of people in our lifetimes. And now we have the art, the science, the knowledge to make it possible, if we take a proactive role in touching people's lives, to be able to have exponential impact in many ways upon thousands, if not millions, of people that one person can now touch in a lifetime, using all that art and science and knowledge that we've built up over the years, of how to reach people, how to influence them, how to move them to take action, how to inspire them to motivate other people to take action, and to build on your legacy, to build on the possibility of having an impact beyond just your own life through the power of all that we've been given.
I couldn't agree more. We're living in such exciting times of just mass communication, where you can get your message out. If, as you say, if you're proactive, you can get your message out to so many people, and it's easy for anyone that has access to the internet, and that can be by phone, to be able to communicate with people all over the world for free.
Yeah, exactly. And we can touch so many people. You know, I had a conference that was done right here in Philadelphia, where I am right now. I'm in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and it was right after I had written my book, Impact: How to Get Noticed, Motivate Millions, and Make a Difference in a Noisy World. Because that's what we need to do. We need to cut through the clutter, and we need to have an impact in the way, in the biggest possible way that we can, in a positive kind of a way. And I have this crazy kind of an idea, you know, that if you're going to teach other people how to do something, that you should actually prove that you can do it. Is that kind of a strange, a strange idea these days? So what I did was I brought about 100 people together in a room in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and we decided to take on a project and see what kind of an impact we could actually have. And what we did was we looked at a number of different people and what they were doing, and I had talked to a young man by the name of Jeremiah, and Jeremiah had grown up in the hardcore ghetto areas of the south side of Chicago, and he had a pretty tough growing up. He'd actually had a life in which he had been very successful young, gone up against a lot of challenges, but was doing really well, and then suddenly everything in his life changed. He was supporting a mother who was going through some mental problems. His parents went into divorce. He was suddenly in the ghettos of Chicago. People were getting thrown off of roofs at his school. Drug addiction was all over the place. All kinds of problems like that. And he managed, through the help of some people who were around him supporting him, even though he had contemplated committing suicide, he managed to turn that around, and then to go back as a young man to the center city of Chicago and helping at-risk kids who were at risk for committing suicide. And we decided to kind of adopt this young man as a project and to help him spread a message to millions of people about the perils of teen suicide. And that impacts, you know, so many people. You know, about 1 in 4 people, you know, are touched by that on any, you know, at any given time frame. It's kind of a silent killer because we don't like to talk about it a lot. But I remember sitting at a lunch one day, and there were 4 people at our table, and there were 2 people sitting at the table who had had somebody who actually tried to commit suicide in front of them, and at a neighboring table, another lady who was there had tried to commit suicide, and almost everybody knew of somebody who had been at risk. So it's a tremendous problem, and we were there to try and spread a simple message of hope to millions of people, because the book, by the way, says that you know, it has the premise that you can get noticed and that you can motivate millions of people and make a difference, and that's what we wanted to prove that we could do. So we were at this conference, and I asked the people at this conference, I said, who is the person in your life who has had the biggest impact, and what did they do to have that impact? And people got up and they talked about all kinds of different people. You know, maybe it was a parent, maybe it was a friend, maybe it was a stranger off the street, maybe it was a school teacher, maybe it was a pastor. You know, all kinds of different people in all kinds of different walks of life who had had the biggest impact on their life. But you know what? Overwhelmingly, the one thing that stood out as the thing that every person in that room that got up and shared who had had the biggest impact, the thing that they had in common was that it was just a simple word of hope or encouragement as that person needed it. You know, at that moment when they needed it the most, somebody stood up and gave a kind word of encouragement and hope to that person. And that was the thing that impacted their life the most, the person that impacted them the most. And we can all give a word of encouragement to somebody who's struggling. And then so many cases, you know, those people didn't even know. They didn't even know that they had that kind of an impact on that person, and they didn't know to that day, you know, because that person never thought to have that conversation with us. So I really came to learn that that we all have an impact, you know, whether we want to or not, on thousands and thousands of people, and that if we're going to have that impact, we have a responsibility to have that impact be in a profound way, the biggest way that we can possibly do to move the most people that we can. And that means that we should really think about the message and the encouragement that we bring to other people, and we should think about the ways that we can spread those kinds of ideas, because, you know, negative things are out there spreading all day long, and if we can overwhelm the world with all that the world has to offer, all that people have to offer, all the love that we have to share, then we can make a big difference. And you can make a big difference today. You know, we think, you know, the reason that people commit suicide is because they think that they don't matter. They think that nobody cares about them. They think that they don't make a difference. But they do. I mean, if you think about a mother, for instance, you know, if they ignore their child, what's the impact on that child? You know, or a father. If you're a father or a mother and you just ignore your child, what kind of an impact do you have on that child? But not just that child, every single person that that child comes into contact with. Those are the kinds of impacts that we're going to have not only on our children, but on everybody that comes into contact with those. And so we sat down on a couch at one of my very, very first events, the very first JV Alert Live event, and had a simple conversation. And it was just three guys sitting on a couch. Actually, it was a chair and a love seat. So I say three guys on a couch, but yeah, that's actually the picture of the couch, the actual couch and the chair that was next to it. So three guys sat down on this chair, and they had a simple conversation, and that conversation was much like people will have at the events that I'm having now. It's like, you know, well, you know, what are you going to do next? What do you want to do? How can I help you? How can we work together? All of those kinds of things. And through that simple conversation, literally thousands and thousands of people have been touched, if not millions of people. I happen to know that lives have been saved, that people are actually alive because of that simple conversation on that couch. Millions and millions of dollars were made because of that simple conversation on the couch. Countless stories, and yet it was just a simple conversation, you know, just like you would have at any conference that you went to these days. I think that the reason that we don't realize what an impact we have is because we don't measure it. We don't pay attention. And so one day we actually had at one of my events, we spent 90 minutes, and I called up one of the guys that had sat down on the couch, and I said, how did this conversation impact your life? And he went on to tell the story of how he had been able to meet some other people and how he had been able to put together a business that later became Traffic Geyser, and he was actually able to personally generate millions of dollars of income off of that. But that wasn't what was important to him. It was the fact that he was now able to go back and do some amazing things that he wanted to do. He was able to, for instance, put a kitchen in for his church, which enabled them to better serve the youth in the community. He was able to help out people that he knew who were struggling. He was able to touch all kinds of people's lives. And so we called up another person who had been touched by that, by Frank Sousa's life. And we called up another, and we called up another, and the chain just went on and on and on. I called up a young man. Well, he was not so young. I say young man because he was younger than me, but he was a dairy farmer, and his father was a dairy farmer before him, and his grandfather before him was a dairy farmer. I called him up to the stage, and he told the story of being out of work and how he came to one of my events, which was a direct result of that conversation at the couch, and how he had been able to, through coming to that event, been able to create a product when he was going to actually get laid off from his job. He had gone from being a dairy farmer, he had lost that job, he'd gotten a job on the factory line, the Gerber baby food factory. They were promising him management potential, but one day they came in and they said, we're going to lay you off. And he was working with special needs kids. He had 4 kids to support. He didn't know what he was going to do. His son had had some success with internet marketing, and he had been to my conferences, and he said, Dad, you should come down, excuse me, and you should talk to Ken and come to one of his events. And he grudgingly went to my event. He kind of got trapped into it by his son, and he was just going to sit in the back of the room. But he actually, that's not the way we do things. So we brought him into the process. By the end of the weekend, he'd started working on a product. He was actually able to go out, market that product for $140,000, I think he made in the first 30 days, which was more money than he'd made, probably in the last couple of years. And yet that wasn't the end of the story, because we were at another event that I did, and he got an email from a young man who was a 14-year-old kid. He had seen this man's site, and his former dairy farmer. He had the cows on the front page of the website, and he told the story about how he went back to his boss and he said, I'm going to fire you. I'm going to take over my life. I'm going to have control. So he had a website called Lay Off Your Boss, and the kid had seen that website, and so the kid, his father was out there. His father was out there struggling. He was bitter. He was angry because he was working in a gas station, and the kid showed him this website, and he took his father to this website, and he said, Dad, this is you. Your life can change too. And the kid had the father turn to him and give him the first hug that he'd ever had in all of his 14 years. And you think about the impact that would have. Now, I don't know if the father went on, did amazing things, but I do know that that was a moment that allowed people to reconnect. And so we don't think about, just having a conversation on a couch, the fact that there are hundreds of people that will be impacted by your actions, as a result of something that small. How is that for a run-on sentence?
That was fantastic. I'm going to just let you keep on talking. I'm enjoying it, and I'm not taking notes, but I'll take notes when I listen to the recording because I'm paying attention to what I'm doing here. That was a great story. I mean, and every single person in the audience can have an impact like that. We can all speak words of life. We can all offer hope and encouragement to others.
Absolutely, and that's what makes it so magical. You know, it really is the small things that make a huge impact, and that's what my next book is about, really. Not just about the techniques of how you can go about using all of the different techniques that we have now in terms of marketing and technology and the ability to leverage you know, things like the internet to reach millions of people, which are powerful, powerful tools, but also the fact that it's the small things that really make a huge difference, and they're things that we can all do, to have a tremendous impact. So, so that's the story of life. You know, somebody went out and discovered, you know, the whole theory of chaos. There's a long story about that. You know, we live in a chaotic world, and yet we live in a world in which one tiny, tiny thing, you know, can impact millions of people. And you know, there's a website that, or actually a YouTube video that has a young man who decided to go out and hold up a sign, and that sign had on it "free hugs." He was actually, you know, kind of estranged from his girlfriend. He'd gone back to Australia from where he was living in England, and he was feeling lonely one night, and went to a party, and he at that party somebody came up to him and gave him a hug, and it made him feel good. And he could have just, you know, taken that hug and done nothing, and it would have had an impact on him. You know, would have made him feel better. But what he did was he decided that he wanted to share that, and the way that he decided that he wanted to share that was he wrote on a piece of cardboard, "free hugs," and he went out to the local supermarket. Now, he could have stayed in his house, or he could have just given some random people hugs, and it would have made him feel better. But he decided to take it one step further, and he went to the mall where the people were, and he held up this sign, and it said "free hugs." And people looked at him pretty strange. You know, it's a kind of an odd experience for somebody to come up and say "free hugs." But eventually, a little old lady came up to him and gave him a big hug, and the smile went over her face, and people could see that they were really enjoying it. And before you knew it, there was a crowd of people who were coming around, and they were getting these free hugs, and the mood was just shifting in the entire mall towards people who were getting these hugs and stuff like that. But it could have ended there, just a good time. You know, they went out to the mall, he gave away some free hugs, made some people feel really good, and that could have been it. But he decided to go back, you know, he decided to go back. And because he decided to go back, more people were impacted. And one of those person was a young man who was in a rock band, and he was actually wearing a placard around the same mall. It was advertising shoe sale for the retail, because he was trying to make ends meet while he was going out and seeking his stardom. And so he came up upon this young man, and he saw him giving away his free hugs, and he said, you know, somebody ought to do something about this to make it bigger. And what he did was he got a camera that he borrowed from his dad, and he videotaped the guy going around the mall and giving away free hugs. And life went on. You know, the guy went to the young rock guy went to L.A. to seek his fame and fortune, and he kind of lost touch with his friend for the most part. But one day he got a note from his friend who said that his grandmother had died, and he was feeling kind of down. So He'd never done anything with the video, but he decided that night to put it together with a bit of music that his band was writing, and they took the video of the guy going around the mall giving away his free hugs, and said, "This is who you are," you know. And the band came in, they saw what he was doing, and they said, "Why don't you post that up on YouTube?" And so the guy posted it up on YouTube, and then people started spreading it around, because if you went to YouTube right today and you search for free hugs, you'd find this video, and you'd see that it now has millions and millions and millions of views, because people were touched around the world. And, you know, Good Morning America heard about the video, and they talked about it, and then Oprah, you know, managed to ask him to come and talk about giving away free hugs, and more people were impacted, and then the government of France actually declared a free hug day to help raise awareness that people who had AIDS could actually be hugged. And you know, and so the impact spread around the world. It spread around the world to communist countries where free hugs days were spreading a news of hope around the world. Those kinds of impacts can be started just by something as simple as giving away hugs. But if you notice that story, every step along the way, it could have died every step along the way if somebody hadn't done something to take it to the next step. And that's really what my book was about, the things that I've worked on in my live events and my impact partnering programs, where I'm trying to help people to bind together to make sure that those messages, those impacts keep building and growing, because there's so many more people out there that we can reach and touch with a message of hope, with a message of love, with a message of giving, who can have an impact in their world, and who can spread positive things throughout the world to make a difference in everybody's life.
What a great story about free hugs. And the scripture that was coming to my mind is, man makes his plans, but God directs his steps. And just saw several points there, like the guy's friend who made the YouTube video. I just got prompted by the Holy Spirit to just do that. And so he thought he was just helping his friend out. He didn't have a clue that he was going to make a difference in millions of people's lives. But I love the idea, too, of just the hugs, because a hug communicates love. And life is really about relationships, and that was the key word that I chose for today's webinar, was relationships, because really marketing comes down to relationships. And your success in the marketplace and with the JV Alive Alert events and in so many different venues, and really the impetus, I believe, behind your impact book is just about relationships, you know, about building and empowering relationships.
Absolutely, because we can do so much more working together than we can apart. You know, you see that every time we come together at live events like JV Alert Live or our one-day intensive events, those kinds of things where we can be a family. We can really make a difference by being together in the same room together, and by maintaining those contacts in an ongoing kind of a relationship, getting to know amazing people. And we have amazing, amazing people who come to the JV Alert Live. Some of the top marketers in the world come to our JV Alert Live events. People come to our impact events, which are smaller kinds of events that would enable them to find those relationships, to find those key people that can really click with them, that can really complement what they're doing. We can support ourselves, we can get through the roadblocks if we're working together in a collaborative kind of a way, if we're supporting each other along along the way, then we can have so much more long-term impact. And that's really what the JV Alert Live events were about. JV Alert started out as a way to really show the power of joint ventures. You know, the first joint venture that I ever created was a website called Affiliate Showcase, and we did about $250,000 worth of recurring revenue in the first 6 months, and it was just a simple relationship that two people got together and they said, what have you got to offer? What kinds of things can we offer to the people that we have? And Affiliate Showcase was born out of that. It was in the top 3,000 sites on the internet for years, and actually we're looking at a brand new relaunch of that program right now. But that was just one joint venture. You know, you think about that, and we thought about it later, and we put together a system where, you know, because the next logical questions was, well, what other kinds of joint ventures can I do? And so I formed a little group called JV Alert, and at first it was just an online kind of a membership system, and we brought together some of the top internet marketers in the world, and we helped them to work together to create joint ventures that made millions and millions of dollars. And then one day I got to go out to lunch with a couple of people, and I thought, boy, that's really neat, because I've been sitting in a room by myself. I work out of my basement, you know, and you know, don't even get to look out a window usually. So it was nice to go out to lunch with people that shared my thoughts and dreams and those kind of things, because so many times we feel like we're alone and we're doing this all by ourselves. And had a great time. A couple of people that went on to some pretty amazing success themselves. But so I put together a simple event. I sent out an email to my group and I said, maybe some of you would like to get together for lunch, or you know, or maybe if there's more of you, then we'll get a conference room or something like that. And I have people that were emailing me from across the country wanting to come over for lunch. And I said, well, I guess we have to do something a little bit bigger. And that's how the JV Alert Live family was really born. We had our first event. We invited about 30 people to that event. And there were no speakers. There was nothing fancy about it. We just all got up. We went around the room. We talked about our projects. We talked about things we wanted to do. We talked about ways we could help each other. And then out of that, we had the conversation on the couch that I talked about a little bit earlier. 3 guys sat down, Sterling Valentine, Frank Sousa, and myself, and I wanted to do some things that would help me to help people to earn a decent living online. And Sterling Valentine was a guy that was brilliant, who had been trying to get his products done. He had attention deficit disorder and had some challenges in that. He later found out that he had brain damage. And he was working a job as a DJ going up and down the Delaware River, entertaining the people on one of the Philadelphia riverboats. And so out of that conversation, he said, well, you know, I'd like to finish my projects. And I said, well, I'd like to teach somebody to prove that I knew how to help somebody, you know, create information products. So we put together a project and a challenge for Sterling to make $100,000 in a 90-day period of time with no product, no list, no joint venture partners, and go from scratch to over $100,000. We were able to basically go through to do that, to document it from start. You know, usually you see those kind of success stories after the fact, but we actually started and videotaped Sterling when he was starting out, before he knew, you know, what was going to happen, and we shared his story and what he wanted to accomplish. And he got up in front of the next group at JV Alert Live, made his public challenge that he was going to make $100,000, and worked really, really hard at it. He failed miserably. It took him 92 days to get to his over $102,000. So he was a miserable failure, but actually it worked out all right for him. He went on. He built a list of 10,000 customers. He he was soon speaking on stages all over the world and developed relationships with some of the top people on the internet. And out of that, magic happened, and I taught other people, how to go on and develop their own successful businesses. Frank Sousa, the other guy on the couch, went on at a later JV Alert Live to team up with a guy by the name of Mike Koenigs, and they put together a multi-million-dollar business that was based on helping to distribute video. It's called Traffic Geyser. Traffic Geyser has gone on to do some pretty amazing things, and multi-million-dollar business. But all of that success pales in comparison to the lives that have been impacted by our live events, our amazing one-day intensive events, and all of the things that we've been able to do by growing a family of people that support each other, all of the time, not just at the live events, but in between. And that's what the Impact Partnering System is all about. I wanted to take things that I've been doing lots and lots of projects. I wanted to build it into one comprehensive system that would help people to grow on the long-term basis, because we're all in life for the long term, and if we want to have an impact, we can't expect to have everything happen overnight. We need to develop those lifetime relationships that are going to enable us to really maximize the effects of everything that we do. Over the years, we've seen more and more impact as a result of a simple conversation on a couch. But that's because what we did was we took the systems that really worked. We brought the people together. We gave them mechanisms to be able to contact each other and work with each other all year round. And even when they can't be at the live events, which we're doing 4 major JV Alert live events every single year. We're doing multiple one-day intensives all around the country. We have them coming up, just in the next month in Atlanta, Chicago, Orlando, Philadelphia, Southern California, and that's just, in the next month or so. And we have, all kinds of workshops for training people and keeping that continuing education and stuff going. So it's grown into quite a family of people that are all out there that are trying to do their very best to help people to grow on a long-term basis and develop those powerful relationships that really make a difference in their lives. So we've developed several things that make that happen. One of the important things is people being able to stay connected with each other. So we have our own social network that actually allows people to connect with each other year-round, to put out joint venture offers and to work with the other members who are part of that family to create joint ventures together. And when they have product launches, that's where they can go to get all kinds of support, or if they have questions or roadblocks. Those kinds of communities really support us so that we're not out there trying to do everything on our own. Second thing that we have is a huge library that I built up. We've been doing events now. This is for JV Alert Live Orlando, which is coming up now. It's now the 7th one in Orlando. And that's just in that one city, and we've done, cities all over the world. We've done, or all over the country. So we typically do Philadelphia or Washington, D.C. or Orlando or Long Beach, California, Las Vegas or San Diego. So lots and lots of events on our 7th year in Orlando, though. And that one's coming up really soon. So another thing that people get is they get access to the live events, and they get discounted tickets for all of the live events that we put on that can save people thousands of dollars by being part of that. And we built up a library of materials that have happened at those live events, resources from everything from copywriting to marketing to how do you build a coaching business to how do you get your book published, how do you speak well, how can you become a professional speaker. Anything that has anything to do with getting your message, ideas, products, and services out to millions of people instead of thousands of people. We've developed materials and systems around that to be able to help people, and that's all part of our Impact Learning Center, which our members get access to. And then in addition to that, we have weekly training calls in which we give them the latest and greatest on techniques and resources that they can use, to build their business, to build their impact, to build their credibility, and to be able to build the audience that they reach. So all of that is part of the impact partnering system that we put together. And of course, there are, if people really want to get involved, there are even higher levels that are available to you. We have our Impact Pro level, which actually includes all of the features that I just mentioned, but then also includes active mass every single week. And then also, in addition to that, it gives you opportunity to put together projects, and it gives you training sessions, every week. So the masterminding elements are really an opportunity to, kind of pick my brain personally and to work with other members of a team that are doing things that you are in a kind of a pure relationship kind of a way. And then at the highest level, I have a few people in the inner circle, which is really, a high-level mentoring kind of a system. If you really want personal one-on-one attention, I have to be honest with you, my time is really, really, really limited these days. But we want to make available to people who really need that kind of attention, a way to get that kind of attention. So we have always try and keep a few slots, because I really enjoy working with people one-on-one when I can, if it's a good match and it's the right timing for you and for me. Then I enjoy doing things, the projects like Sterling Valentine, where we were really intensive on one thing for a very, very short time. So I hope that kind of gives you an overview of some of the things I've done in my life, some of the things that I'm trying to bring to the table to help other people, and then hopefully a way that you can get involved with all that we're doing, because I know that there are people on this call that will have opportunities to have huge impact during the course of their lives, and I'd like to be able to assist them in any way that I possibly can.
Well, thank you, Ken. That was a great explanation. What do you recommend as the first step, or the first step or two, for someone that's thinking about putting their toe in the water?
Well, there are lots of ways to get involved. The simplest ways to get involved, have to do with staying in touch, being part of the family. You can get involved with the Impact Partnering System, which is the overview, the all-encompassing system that we put together that really covers everything that I'm doing and the JV Alert Live and Impact Family are doing, working together. It's really kind of covered by that umbrella of the Impact Partnering System, which brings us together. So you can become involved as a member of that for as little as $75 a month. That includes all the social network, being able to go out and reach out to joint venture partners. It includes the whole social community, the whole learning library. It includes those priceless discounts to all of the events that we have, all the live events, which there are tons and tons of training events. Literally can mean thousands of dollars in savings for those kinds of events. Includes the weekly calls of the trainings, where we give specific information. We also do hot seat seminars, which are online hot seats where we take a person's project and kind of tear it apart and then build it back together, help them find the roadblocks and the opportunities with a world-class panel of experts. So it's all focused on you and your project. All of that's included for the $75 a month, and I think you've got a URL up there on the screen right now where people can go to learn about that. And then, of course, the second level is actually $123 a month. That includes all the mastermind stuff. And then if you're really interested in the one-on-one mentoring, then you can get that. That's also available too. It's more of an intensive kind of a thing. You can shoot me an email if you have questions about that. You can just send me an email at ken@jbalert if you have any questions about any of these things. Of course, you can always get involved. I have a blog at kenmcarthur.com. It doesn't cost you anything to do that at all. If you can come to any of our live events, the live events are incredible. There's nothing like being part of live events, and you can find those at One Day Intensive, or you can use the link here to go and get involved in the Impact Partnering Program, which of course give you access to any of those events at discount rates. So, does that help?
Absolutely. I want to ask you at least one more question. How do you maintain your work-life balance as your influence grows?
Well, there's only 24 hours in the day, and I think that's pretty much universal to all of us. So when we say we don't have enough time, we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat, whether it's somebody who's completely unemployed, who sits on a park bench all day long, or we're somebody who has all kinds of things going on in their lives. I'm sure, the President of the United States doesn't have much time to run the entire country, right? So the way that I think the way that you try to leverage life balance is to realize that some things are important and some things are not. Some things we should be doing personally and some things we should not, right? We tend to think that just because there's an opportunity to do something that we should do it. And the truth is that it might not be the right time, it might not be the right person, it might not be the right activity for us. God has a plan for all of us, I know, and everything to its time and everything to its purpose. And I think you can learn a lot by reading Ecclesiastes. But you definitely need to focus on the things that are important in life. And what are the things that are important in life? It's thinking about others first. It's about sharing love and doing it in ways that will make the most of everything that you do. So I hope that you'll take your God-given talents and you will use those in a way that will be effective and that will have impact, not just in your life, but on millions and millions of people. You need to take the time to reflect. You need to take the time to be with other people. You need to take the time to have time alone. All of those things come in balance, I think. And what I've tried to do over the years is put together systems that make it easier for people to do that, to speed up that process. You can go out there and you can learn every bit of this on your own. And you can probably do a lot of things on your own, all by your little old self. And you don't have to spend $1 to do it, All of the knowledge that you need is out there somewhere. And you don't need me, to help you do it. But what I can do is I can speed up the process. I can make it more powerful. I can direct you towards people who can help you with the things that you need right now. And that's what it's about. It's those people, those relationships. It's about optimizing the time that you have. We have such limited time. There is no time to waste because, believe me, I was a blink of an eye. I was back in Mississippi toddling around as a toddler. It's like a half second ago in the range of things. My father, I talked about him at the very start of this. He was starting out, and he was going through his life, and I remember him as what I now realize was pretty much a young man. I saw him, when he was in his 40s, and then I saw him in his 50s, and I'm 27 years behind my father. And when I was 5 or 10 years old, that seemed like a million years behind. That was a half a lifetime behind. But now it's like an instant behind. Our lives are short. If you want to have an impact, you're going to have an impact whether you want to or not. But if you want to have a positive impact, you want that impact to be something that will live beyond your life, to impact the lives of the people who come behind you, then you need to take action right now, and you need to take it all the way to completion. It's not enough to just act. We get up every day and we take actions all day long, even if it's just laying in bed. But we need to finish things. We need to do things. We need to speed up the process because time is short, and we're given opportunities that seem endless, but time is not endless, at least not here on earth. And so while we're here, we need to accomplish as much as we can to do the greatest amount of good that we possibly can. I believe that, and I believe that the people who are listening on this call want to do that. I believe that you want to have an impact, that you want to make a difference, and I believe that you can do that, and I believe that you can do that faster, better, and more effectively if you're doing that with people who share those values, who care about you, and want to make a difference.
Boy, I just love listening to you. You've sharing so many valuable life lessons. I want to ask you one final question. What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I think ultimately God's in charge of our legacy. What I want more than anything else is to be able to touch the lives of the people around me in a positive way. And I think that the way that we do that is through the small actions that we take. I'm not out there to do, to try and change the world. I think that the world's going to go on just fine without me. If I drop off the planet tomorrow, if you go to a funeral by beloved people, I was a choir director in a church for many, many years, kind of by accident, kind of by design. I have a degree in choral conducting, and I did that for a number of years. But I saw a lot of funerals, I saw a lot of people that passed on, and some of them were pretty amazing people, and yet we get up the next day and we go on with life after they die, and so we're all like a ripple in the pond. The question is, while we're here, while we're in the moment today, did we do things that have a positive impact, that make a difference? So I hope that my legacy is that I did something good today, and that whatever I do today will spread through the people that I touch, and that they will go out, do amazing things, and that will make the world a better place, because that's the way we do it. It's today, the small actions that we take, that make a positive difference in the people around us, and they can have unlimited impact in the world.
Wow, what an encouraging message for everyone, because everyone can make that small difference and do the ordinary things today. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you, Ken McArthur, for just your willingness to be a guest panelist, or the speaker today, our guest expert, to share your wisdom and to share about these opportunities today. And I thank each of you in the audience for participating, and encourage you to take some action to stay connected to Ken. He truly is a thought leader in the area of having an impact, a big impact. And just remember that sometimes the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is smaller than you think. Blessings, everybody. This concludes our webinar. Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody.